Welcome.
Woo!
Episode 33.
33. They
Not
stack up
34,
quickly.
33.
Oh, I thought it was 34. Well, we're
Trying to
moving
jump
quickly.
ahead.
Yeah, I know. We're
That's
moving
absolute
quickly.
bullcrap.
It's nice. 33. Medium-term goals.
You?
I like to call out, first of all, though, you're wearing a beanie.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I
This is new. I've never seen you wear a beanie before.
So I didn't shave my head in the past couple of days,
Yeah.
weekish now, and I'm starting to get to the point where I realize, like, for sure, a little bit here, it gets like I've got like a real dark monk patch.
Yeah, okay.
So I'd be a
You got the
great
monk look.
But I'm fixing that. I did a bit of research.
Yeah.
I've got like a new head shaver, and I'll be doing that every couple of days. So
Nice. Good.
just until I get that,
The beanie's on.
Beanie's on.
The Gary V look. Excellent. Episode 33 is medium-term goals. So I think we've talked about previously goals beforehand anyways,
yeah,
around our short-term, medium-term, long-term goals. But I thought, okay, let's just focus on the medium term. So I think it's got some important things around it in between what, I think everyone knows what short-term goals are. Everybody knows what a long-term goal is, or maybe don't really understand what a long-term goal is. But I reckon medium-term, a lot of people either don't have medium-term goals or are just confusing them for short-term and long-term.
yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure.
but as always, before we kick off, mere mortal moment of the week.
Yeah, all
Hit me with yours.
Mine was a good one from yesterday, actually. So
Yep.
mine is enjoy the irony of life. So
Okay, yeah, lots of irony in there. Yeah.
one of the things I was doing yesterday was I was doing a bit of meditation, and I'd sort of set aside this time, an hour's worth, to do just go out into nature, sit down and meditate.
Yep.
And as I was doing it, I got like halfway through, and yeah, it was like I just got to this point where I was like about halfway through, and I was starting to think like, oh, this is really good. I should start planning like doing this next month. And I was like, oh yeah, I could do it this way, and maybe I'll split it up into 2 half-an-hour ones.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, it just hit me. I went, the whole point of you being here is to meditate, not to plan. And you're planning.
You're planning to do your meditation.
Like you're planning the next one.
Yeah.
When you're doing this one right here. And it actually just made me like laugh out loud for a little bit, because it's just so ridiculous, such a ridiculous thing to be doing. And I suppose you have to just enjoy those really ironic moments because they pop up, and it was definitely worth it. Like I'm glad that happened.
So yeah,
it's just such.
Well, it's interesting that you were able to
be
reflect on it straight away, probably because you were meditating, so you reflected on it quickly.
Yeah.
Good point. Mine was engaging life in a continued alignment from short-term to long-term goals is important. So stop the waste and promoting what really matters. I found. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago where I was focusing either too much in the long term and sometimes missing the short term. I found a lot of alignment with those long-term goals, and now I've introduced, so we're going to be talking about medium-term goals, but one thing I introduced this week was the short-term, really short-term, not goals, review, I guess, of the day. I know that you currently do your daily review across quite a big segment of things.
Yeah.
Mine's a little bit more of just across the 3 eminent human being categories that I have, and just a daily check on from 1 to 5, how did it go in that particular day? And I think I was saying where if it's above a 3, then I'll make a particular comment on that day to say, okay, well, why was it such a good day? Why did it match up so well to my aligned goals? And I should be able to do like really reflectively daily. If I do, what I think is a very busy day, and I go, oh, but actually I genuinely scored only like 1 across these 3, or okay, I did a lot of things, but it wasn't actually the things I'm focusing on or whatever. So
yeah, for sure.
That's the new application. So continuing to align my life in a positively engaged way.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, I was doing a little bit of math, and I thought, setting aside an hour is quite a long time to be setting aside just for meditation. But I was thinking, if I did that just once a month, it's basically only 2 minutes every day. I cut out 2 minutes every day. So 30 days in a month, 2 minutes from each day, that's an hour. And how much time, like I can think of plenty of times where I waste 2 minutes doing bullshit.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's helpful, I guess, in those sorts of things where, maybe if it's an hour every day of meditation, okay, that's a lot. That's sort of hard to justify if I've got other priorities.
Yeah.
But if I want to do, one thing and I'm thinking, an hour is a long time. If you put it in the concept, like in the context of a month,
it's actually nothing.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing. So,
well, it kind of plays into this goals stuff, because I was just thinking about it before I was listening to a podcast on the way here, and it was the whole point where You go to the first level, busyness. So everyone can be busy. You can be busy doing whatever, but it could be unproductive. You could be busy just watching YouTube, Netflix, whatever, 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Sleeping, busy. Then the next level of people think about is like efficiency. So I think where, if you're efficient, you could be thinking about, okay, well now I'm doing things in the best way, the fastest way. But then it got me into thinking, well, efficiency is great and all, but again, you could be really efficient at watching Netflix. You could be really efficient at cleaning your whole house, but like, is that really a priority? Is it productive? It could be, but is it, the utmost? So I got to this word of not so much efficiency, but effectiveness. And I listened to Tim Ferriss's podcast and was talking about, there's one called The Efficient Executive by Peter Drucker. So it's an older book, but apparently, just fantastic. I haven't read it, but do want to read it. And yeah, just listening to that, it was all about the effectiveness. So what you're saying with, you spend an hour a month, like I say, in a month's time, you'll do an hour meditation session out in nature. Yeah. So, you're probably going to get the most effectiveness out of that. So even though it might be more efficient on a day to do 2 minutes per day, say, it's actually more effective to do the 1 hour overall, perhaps. Yeah. So that's actually benefits. Yeah. So that was interesting. It was an interesting listen. So good. Defining the medium-term goal was interesting because there's so much discussions about what is a short-term goal, what is long-term goal, what's a medium-term goal. So I came to some definition of my own, but I don't know if you've got one.
No, let's hear yours first, and then I'll get into what I was looking at.
So for me, I said medium-term goal really just bridges the gap between daily goals and like the really long-term visions of yourself, your company, whatever it may be, relationships. So I termed it to me that a short-term goal is anything up to 3 to 6 months. So I was thinking, okay, like a quarterly, month-by-month basis, I would think short-term is 3 to 6 months. So short-term all the way from like daily things you do. Monthly things would still be for me short-term, all the way to 3 to 6 months. So 6 month horizon, you can kind of visualize what's going on. The environment you're playing, your factors, whether things are going to go right or wrong. You've planned things out. You can kind of plan things out to 6 months in a very like defined way. Yeah. So say coronavirus right now, anything you do for the coronavirus in terms of like if you've got a business is going to be quite short-term because potentially in 6 months' time, we're going to move away back to, and we're going to be in some other environment. But from then to now, from right now to then, for me, it would be like, okay, it's a short-term goal. Let's organize what you're going.
Okay. I'll already ping you there and say mine is
a little bit different. And that's why it was interesting because I read a lot of other things and it was like, you could say, I'll define mine, define yours. And I don't think we have to agree on it. But I think we just saw when we're talking about it, what it means.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, long-term then was beyond 5 years.
Yeah.
So to me, it was 5 years is, and already, if you're talking about from a technical perspective, that is just like incredibly long term, but it's enough time now that in 5 years, everything you imagine, is going to change, both your mindset, what you understand, the context, your environment, the world around us. By 5 years, it's going to change. And it's got to be those long lasting visions of things. So it's almost like you're not setting a statement of, I want to have X amount of money or I want to be 200 pounds, something. You got to just be like, I want to be healthy and fit and connecting relationships, something like that, right? A bit more, it's fluffier and you can't really pinpoint specific things at that sort of long-term vision. And then, so for me then a midterm goal is what bridges your 3 to 6 months to your 5 years. So to me, midterm is like a yearly goal.
Yeah.
So yearly goals to me are midterm. That's what I would sort of associate them with. Or 2 years or 3 years, anything around that time. That's to me a medium-term goal. Again, it can vary like heaps, but I'm like, okay, line in the sand for me, 6 months down, short-term, 6 months or 5 years, midterm, 5 years plus, long-term. Okay. That was my take. So I'll be interested to hear your take on it because it was, I went back and forth with a lot of things. Like short-term, was it going to be like daily? And then anything above that's medium? But I guess I have my reasons. We can talk about them. So.
Yeah, I got into, I suppose, for me, it was more like 1 month to a year is the midterm. Mm-hmm. I feel just for the short term, it's really something for me that I need to be able to look out and pick a particular date and say, okay, what am I going to be doing on this date? Mm. So I could do that, I think, with a reasonable expectation for definitely this next week. And probably for the rest of this month as well, I'd have a fair idea of this month coming up, what I'll be doing. But then beyond that, it sort of feels to me like, okay, I'm not really sure what I'd actually be doing if you pick like a random day, say let's just say the 16th of June.
Yep.
Which is 2 and a bit months time from now. I really would have trouble saying like, okay, I think I know what I'm going to be doing on that day.
Yep.
1 month, 1.5 months actually. And yeah, so for me, midterm goals, I feel are something like 1 month to a year.
Sure. Yep.
And potentially 2 years. And then beyond that is I guess like the long-term goals.
Yep.
And
okay.
Yeah. So at the moment, I'll just say what I do. I have, I guess, yearly goals, which they're sort of, there's almost like a fourth step in there. They're somewhere between like a midterm and a long term. So I've got like.
So do you have a higher level long term?
Yeah. So I've got a high level long term, which I sort of have written in the aims of that being, 5 years plus, I guess.
Okay. Sure.
It's hard to say because I don't even know if I'd really call that a goal per se, or more like a principle or a value that I want to.
Well, yeah, it's interesting.
Reach.
Like
not even reach, but embody, I guess. So I've got that longer one. The midterm ones, I suppose, are things that allow me to end up reaching there, but I can start putting some numbers and concrete things that I want to achieve. And then the short term would be even less than that. So for me, the long term, I would say it's something I want to achieve, but I'm not really sure if I've achieved it or not. It's more qualitative.
Yes.
And
I think it's the case, right? The longer it is, I think the more qualitative it is. The shorter it is, the more quantitative it is.
Yeah,
because you can really pinpoint, like today you can say, I drank 10 cups of water.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, you can say, I stayed hydrated.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, perfectly. Nailed it.
So one thing I was looking at this is how to describe medium-term goals. Because before we get into, examples and even how we do it, I think that might help out listeners and whatnot. I found this little, image of it around, midterm goal offers the best of both worlds. Not sure if it's like the exact thing. I just think it's that bridging again of it. It was talking about, so short-term goals are normally too short to make significant progress. So I guess that's what defines short-term goals.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought, okay, well, 6 months. We normally overestimate what we're going to do in a couple of months in the short term, but we heavily underestimate what we're going to do in the long term. So I thought in 6 months or in 3 months, 6 months, you generally overestimate what you can really do. So, if you think about it, you can only really create 10 podcasts, say, in that time, or you can only go train 30 or 50 times in that time. And you're not going to see a humongous amount of changes. There'll be slight changes, but it's probably too short to see significant progress. Where long-term ones are, there's different values and priorities perhaps where you are than when you initially set the goal. So it's got to embody that, like, what do I want to be like? Who would I want to be? Who would I aspire to be? And then you can reset that and go again.
Yeah.
Where the medium-term one is, there's enough time in that period for you to see the progress that's made. So handstands, short term, 1 month, you're more thinking like, okay, I just want to train. I just want to practice handstands for a month and follow the progress. With a medium term one, that's when you can go, okay, I want to hit a 1 minute handstand in a year because it's feasible. Yeah. You won't track that in the short term, but you'll track it in the medium term to go for it. So I think it's got a little bit of quantitative side of it. But I think it's the medium term is where your really concrete goals should live in terms of like hitting marks. Not in the short term, because I think you can get a little bit lost in the short term with it. I think medium term is where you go, I want to make, and here's some of the examples, right? That's where you go, I want to graduate from college. I want to have a baby, buy a house, pay off a loan, they said become a millionaire. I was like, gee, okay. I guess some people out there, they cannot make that a medium term, but get promoted, make a book, write a song. Those sort of stuff are more like, you could never say short term, I'm going to write a book. Like you could pump one out, but it's not really, that doesn't sit in short term. That's the sort of stuff that sits on your medium term. Yeah. And then that's when you go, the short terms where you actually put the work that will then scale up into a medium term. So I more defined it as, and look at it as, the medium term is where you actually see your progress. Short terms where you do the work, long terms where you aim for, medium terms like that's where the work is seen to be improving. Yeah. So I found that interesting. Another one that I have in there, and I guess sort of talked about it, was winners and losers have the same goals. And it talked about every Olympian that goes to the Olympics goes there to win gold. Like that is it. So but only one person normally comes away with a gold in a particular race, right?
I'm not so sure about that.
So, perhaps you're right. Let's say that there's some Olympians who go there and they're not going for gold because they know it. They're just going for...
Yeah, like they're barely scraped in.
Yeah.
And they're just happy to be there.
But let's imagine, say, the top 5. All of them are going in there, in their mind, believing they're going to get gold.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, only one of them's going to get gold. There was a whole discussion about, if successful and unsuccessful people share the same goals, then the goal cannot be what differentiates the winners from the losers. So it's an interesting one. So I was thinking that mentality of I want to win gold might be like a long-term thing. And it's those medium-term goals that can help out, say, an Olympian to say, okay, well, I know I want to win gold. Medium-term, I need to achieve say 100 meters. I need to achieve 10-second run in this time, and then I want to beat it, and then I want to beat it.
Yeah.
If you just go in with a mindset, so if you'd say, why is medium-term goal so important? If you didn't have that, and you had an amazing long-term view, I want to win gold medal, and you've got the mindset. Short-term is, I will wake up every morning and I'm going to run and I'm going to exhaust myself. There's nothing that ties the two together in terms of you'll wake up and you'll be training so hard, and then you'll get to the race and you didn't really track the medium-term level of okay, did I have to do these challenges? Did I have to meet this criteria? And then you can't fluctuate your long-term, or you wouldn't normally fluctuate your long-term. You don't have the ability to then reassess your short-term goals to meet your medium-term. So I think that's the super important thing of it. I don't know if you've thought about it in different ways.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of reasons here why I personally use them and what I think.
So I guess first of all, let's just sell listeners why you need to have medium-term goals. I think I reckon they're behind long-term. So long-term I reckon is the most important.
Yeah.
But if you do not have medium-term, that's what I said earlier. I think everyone is just going to be really busy or efficient, but you're not going to be effective. So you're going to be busy doing all these things. You can tell me that you run every day. That's fantastic. But if your long-term goal is to run a marathon at a certain time and you're not tracking what that marathon is or seeing the progress, then you could just be spinning your wheels and you have no idea.
I wouldn't say it's for everyone in that sense. I'd say it's for certain personality types. And there's ways, I've met people who have an amazing vision of what they want to do, and they've got all these things that they want to do, and I'm going to be blah 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 blah, but they don't have the steps in place to do the daily grind of what's needing to be done, and the step back from that of saying okay, I'm doing this daily grind, but am I doing it in, like you were saying, the most productive or efficient way?
Yeah.
So for a sprinter, for example, say they have this amazing long-term goal of they want to, win the Olympics, win the 100 meters.
Yep.
Every day they're just grinding out there. They're sprinting. They'll go to the track 4 a.m. every morning.
Yep.
Do sprints for 5 hours, take a little bit of a break, let their body recover, and then do another 5 hours in the afternoon.
Mental.
Say they're doing this. If they kept on doing that same bloody routine all the way up to the Olympics, they're going to reach the Olympics and just be absolutely exhausted. But if they did something where it's okay, I'll train really hard for, the 5 months, I guess, just before the Olympics, and maybe 1 month, a couple of weeks before the actual games, I'll take a bit of a rest there. So my body's feeling really good. I've prepared, I've done all that preparation. I'll just do a little bit here and there just to keep the body warm. They're probably going to do a bit better. And that's because they can take that step back and have a different field of view.
Sure.
So I think that's why these goods, they're good for taking a step back and seeing a different scale of the picture. Yeah. What's the best thing for me to do today? Exercise. In the next hour, exercise. What's the best thing for me to do in the next week?
Yep.
Oh, maybe not exercise because maybe I have a competition the next week, so I'm going to rest. That sort of thing.
I've got one idea. Oh man, I wish I could write up on a board somewhere. But in essence, I'll draw it up here. So if you want to look at the video, check it out. You'll understand it. So tough. Imagine. I guess the way that I would see it, where medium-term goals are, right? If you've got your start point and your end point down here, right? I think your daily goals will just move you, and they'll move you in a direction. Yeah. And I think you'll just go. So if the fastest and more efficient point is L1, and you start going up this way. I think your midterm goal to go, okay, I see where I'm going. Okay, I need to pivot and go back down here. Yeah, exactly. And then get you to your long-term goal. Or else, if you had no medium-term goals, you might end up going flying all over the place, and you might reach your long term, but it might take you a long time, or you'll just never reach it. You'll just fly off somewhere else.
Yeah, okay, that's actually a good way of putting it. Another thing I've got here is ability to focus on more and stack learnings. So with a long-term goal, I suppose you really want to have like one thing, or if you've split it into different categories, you'll have like a max of, I don't know, I'm just going to say 10.
Yep.
For me, I think one of the good things midterm goals is it can allow you to work on individual components of that same thing.
Yep.
And so you're able to balance a bit more. So I definitely want to, we'll keep the fitness one just the same. I want to achieve 100 meters at the Olympics. Well, maybe I do that by improving my reaction time out of the gate. And so I spend time training on that. But then I also spend more time training, pumping my legs and getting the legs to like the correct form during the middle part of the sprint. And so you can chunk it down and work on different things in it as well, which I think is really useful to have.
Oh, definitely.
To look at different things like that.
Yeah, look, I'll pivot as well with what we're talking about. So we're talking about all sports. I'll go more into what a lot of people might think about and just not even sure how to do, which is you want to get a promotion at work, or you want to move up in your company, or you want to start a business, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Medium-term goals that people don't seem to have is, you'll have, if you're really motivated, and your short-term goals will be, I want to work hard, 10 hours, get this achieved, go well, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Long-term goal is like, I want to be a CEO, I want to own a company, I want to be a billionaire, et cetera. The midterm that people fail to do, and I saw this quite a lot because in one of the companies I worked with, we had yearly reviews, right? And that's how a lot of consulting companies used to work. You do yearly reviews every year and you got ranked, et cetera, et cetera. And they try to slowly bring that to more like short-term goals that would build up to the medium-term goal. So that's what they try to do. But 90% of people didn't know how to do that. They didn't know how to build short-term goals to medium-term goals. And what would end up happening is that they worked hard, but then in the medium term, that sort of yearly review, they'll go, oh, you worked really hard in this one aspect and you kind of did well. However, you forgot this one, and in the end, you didn't actually accomplish what you needed. Yeah. So they still have a long-term view, and a lot of people get into this issue where they think, oh, well, just working hard's going to do it. Well, no, that's not true. Obviously it's a part of it, but assessing at that medium-term level of, okay, well, I'm working hard. Am I working hard at the right things? Am I achieving the right? If you're a person that needs KPIs to be achieved, then obviously that's a particular goal, but is the other goals around, personalization, your network, anything else? Yeah. If your long-term is to be a senior vice president, quite likely you need all of those other things. Do you have other short-term goals that are allowing you to get to that? Or are you just simply working as hard as you can on whatever gets thrown at you? So you have to modulate the things that are coming through you through midterm goals to at least aim you at a short-term to then get you on the right path going forward. So again, in that sort of image I drew, whether it's, we talked about sport because it's easy. I think whether it's sporting, whether it's business, personal life, improving yourself, anything, a midterm goal is going to help you out in achieving that. One of the things I was going to ask you though is, that way we started talking about how we do it. How do you track your medium-term goals? So well, give us an example of medium-term goal and how you track it.
Yeah.
Just to give an example of, okay, what does that look like for people?
Can we just shelve that question for a bit and I'll get back to that?
Okay.
Because I do want to address that, but yeah, I think there's still a couple more whys that are useful to think about.
Good.
The mental boost to achieve, I guess, like a larger dopamine, not provided by the daily. So in the sense, this is more like a habit forming thing.
Okay, good.
So
good.
I think there's reasons why we do this stuff, and because it's, I guess, working for us. We're progressing further in what we want to do and seeing results. And I guess like just feeling better from that. And I guess like if you're trying to view it from a little bit of a larger perspective, we're trying to create habits so that we don't have to, think too much about whatever, and we can just go out and do things and it'll get done without that extra energy involved, making it more efficient, making ourselves more productive. And I think one of the reasons to keep doing it is you do get like a bit of a dopamine rush when you do achieve a midterm goal and you can tick it off, and it's going to go away for sure, as all goals pretty much do. It's very hard to I graduated uni, and that was 4 years of my life, and it felt great for, I don't know, a week maybe,
whatever, and then it goes away.
And then it goes away, and that's with everything, and it's okay to have that as long as you keep that in mind. And I think this is just one of those ways of punctuating, a little good thing in your life to have.
Yeah, no, it's a good point,
and keep going on that.
Well, I was going to give an example there. I think it's good to point out. So when our short-term goals, let's talk about our socials, our Instagram. Our short-term goals is that we engage with individuals, we comment, we talk, we try to follow and talk to similar podcasters on Instagram and interact. Short-term goal, maybe little dopamine hits when we're talking to people, sharing content. But say for a medium-term goal with us, might be 1,000 followers. So getting to 1,000 followers for us would be like, okay, excellent. We're on the right path. Whatever it may be, we can assess when we get there, and that gives a little dopamine hit of like, okay, good. We're going. At the moment, we're setting sort of monthly goals in some of how we're going with the followers. Long-term goal could be whatever, but if you waited all the way to a long-term, say, if you waited to celebrate until you got to like 100,000 followers or 1 million followers, well, that might take a little while, and you might be, the daily grind might just get to you, and you go, well, gee, I'm still 50,000 away, 100,000 away, and you kind of just be a little bit like, well, disinterested. Why am I even doing this anymore? As opposed to you can pivot and go, awesome, 1,000, excellent. Let's go to, real life example for people. We set a goal of 600 for this month, and we went past it. I think we're up, a couple of days ago, and now we're at like 630, 640. And for us, we were like, oh, excellent. And we thought, maybe next month that can be 1,000. It's sort of a motivator and a driver to go, good, let's keep pushing. Things are working. We can see it working. In the inverse, if for some reason we didn't hit 600 and, it stalled forever or something, more quickly we could reassess and go, okay, obviously we're doing something wrong daily. It's not achieving that. But if you didn't have the mid, you just keep doing it for years, and you'd be like, oh, I didn't hit 100,000 and I'm working so hard. So
for sure,
it helps sort of understand, am I doing things that are doing it right? And even though I'm a bit busy, is it actually working or not to my long-term goals?
Yeah. And you just hit one of the other points, accountability. So you're keeping yourself accountable to achieving those long-term ones, because they are so far in the distance in the future. And it can look like such a hard thing to get, like to graduate uni after do another 3.5 years. I don't know if I can even pass the course this semester,
And this is an interesting one, because, and so like, I'll take that whole, graduating from college. Medium term for me is graduating from college. And I think the problem, and you could even be more specific. You can be like, I want to graduate college with an OP of 6, right? I think sometimes the reason people, just don't have goals at all, or medium-term goals, is because they're sometimes afraid that you're actually putting yourself under pressure to do stuff. And I bet there'll be, I knew people who would be like, well, I just want to get through it. They would been very scared to be like, I want to graduate with a really high score or whatever it may be.
GPA.
You know what I mean? OP, GPA. They might have been like ATAR for the new stuff. They would have gone, no, I don't want to put that pressure on myself. And the reality of it is you are accountable when you put down these sort of goals midterm. Like long-term, you're not accountable really. It's just what you would strive to be. Short-term, you can feel like you're doing things, but the midterm is what keeps you really accountable to go, okay, I said I was going to do this by this year. And if I don't get it, like the only person that I can blame is myself, because I set that and I've set the path to it. If I don't get it, something's gone wrong. Now, I think people out there can be scared about that. And it's understandable. I know goals for if you were really fat, if you're overweight, it's quite, daunting to say medium term, I want to be 4 sizes down, 6 sizes down, whatever it may be. Because you'll go, okay, well, I can train with a personal trainer for a week and it feels good. But if you have to show consistency for a year, people can go, oh, okay, I've got to be accountable for a long time. Oh, I don't want to do that. It's too much pressure. So I think people have to get over that pressure of the accountability or of being afraid of that. And I think pivoting in more to being okay that if you fail. So when we set a midterm goal of, I'll call it out now. If by the end of the year we say, we're going to try to get 5,000 followers by the end of the year, it's okay if we fail. Like it's fine if you don't reach it. But if you set the short-term goals that match up to it to say, okay, is it even possible to do? Okay, let's try. If we get to the end of the year and we get, 2,000, 3,000, okay, we go, okay, fine, we failed that. We can understand, we can get the learnings from it. And again, that just helps you improve. be be scared and the pressure for it. Just be accountable that you're going to learn from something, whether you succeed or you don't. And at least you teach yourself something. So no, mere mortals, right? The whole thing from it is you learn from your successes, but more importantly, your failures. And so if you fail with your midterm goals, you learn so much. But if you don't even know what you're failing at, you can never learn.
Yeah, for sure. So that actually transitions pretty nicely into, I guess, how and I suppose how we create them and what we do with them.
Let's talk about it.
So I'll give one example for me, which I noticed myself doing recently. So a long-term goal for me is I want to be fluent in Spanish. And that's pretty broad.
Fluent
in Spanish.
I was trying to remember how to say it. No, I was trying to remember to say the word in Spanish. How do you say fluent in Spanish?
Fluidez.
Fluidez. There you go. I thought it was affluente, but it's not even the right word.
No, that's like
you're already beyond my Spanish. Very good.
Good. So that's pretty open ended. I've heard fluency being described in many ways. People who think you learn the basic 10,000 words and you're fluent. You need to be able to speak to everyone and you're fluent. You need to be and there's like
many levels of fluent.
I don't particularly know as well. I think I'll just know like one day when it's like it's not so much of a struggle for me. And potentially not. I might, continually get to a really good point and then be like, I don't know what that word in the dictionary is. I can't be fluent if I don't know that. Even though
just to take a pause, I reckon the definition of being fluent in a language is that you don't think about it, where you stop thinking, and it's more a subliminal thing of how it's being done. Yeah, I reckon that would be my take on when it's fluent.
See, I can have moments of that, but not all the time as well.
Yeah, I think it'd have to be like in the majority of times.
Yeah,
plus 70%.
Yeah. Anywho, I had a sort of between the mid and long term goal. I suppose more of a midterm goal, and this is where it's getting weird because I would say I do monthly and yearly, and they're both around similar that midterm sort of stage, I guess. So my yearly goal was to do the CIELI exam, which is an exam you can do in Sydney. Yep. And it's basically one where you take the exam and it'll give you a rank of where your Spanish sits. And so I was like, okay, I want to do that in October. Whether that actually will happen or not, considering all this coronavirus and whatnot, we'll see. And so that was, I guess, like a midterm goal that I wanted to achieve. And I was spending an hour each day practicing Spanish. Yep. And I was doing this in a number of ways. One was at the start, I was sort of learning just individual words and trying to use them in sentences, use conjugations. Then I decided like, okay, I probably need to switch this up a little bit and start doing some reading because I'm not reading this stuff. I'm just practicing writing it down. Yep. So then I got a couple of Spanish books and I've been reading them, and they're quite hard books. Reading them, trying to understand them, and still writing words down from it. Yep. And then it's got to a point where it was like, okay, I'm doing the reading and the writing, but I'm not doing that much listening. Yep. So I got some more Spanish podcasts and was doing that. Now I'm up to the stage where I want to be speaking more, so I've created like a YouTube channel for that. Yep. And I'll want to be doing like book reviews and interviews with people. And I suppose like the thing with the midterm goals was that allowed me to do was I was just doing an hour of Spanish each day. And if I hadn't had midterm goals of saying, okay, I want to do this exam, and to do that, I need to break it down into these, I suppose, 4 different chunks: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. I would have just stuck with that one thing, got really good at writing it, and then realized like, okay, I'm not prepared to do this exam because I'm good at this one area, but I'm not doing these other
things.
So I suppose that's one of the ways that I will set it. And I'll pass it over to you. How do you?
Well, I'll share goals? One simple one and one not so simple one, so people can get understanding. So 2 of my monthly goals, 2 midterm goals, which are yearly goals. One is achieve 50 podcasts by the end of my year that I track in. Yeah. And fairly straightforward. Short term.
Did you steal that from me? I had the same one.
I don't know if I wrote it. I don't know if I wrote it before yours, or I think I was influenced by you saying, and I wrote it down as well when I wrote it. So it was quite similar.
I made that in October after we'd done like So
I did it. No, I did it in August.
Did you?
Yeah,
Okay,
mine ran in August.
I stole it from you then.
So although I didn't, I don't think I even shared that. I don't know if I shared it. Who knows?
No, I don't think you did.
Anyway, so I put down 50 podcasts until the next August, essentially.
Yeah.
And short-term goal, it's easy. I mean, it just means once a week.
Once a week, yeah.
Right? And that can be whatever. So that medium term is 50. And I also put down that I want it to be at 50 and 1,000 listens to the podcast. So that was a midterm goal, right? Yeah. Easy enough. It's got a little bit of definitive sort of sense to it. If short term, I didn't, if we're doing all this stuff and, we reach 50, but we don't get 1,000 views or 1,000 listens, then it's like, oh, okay, why didn't it? So I can reassess. Yeah. And then long term, that might fit within the business finance sphere, which is my long term look, which is a bit of a, congregated sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now, another one where it's a little bit iffy was one of my long term, to explain one of the long term ones is in the fitness realm and around how I see it long term eminent human being. And it's centered around, it's difficult to explain, but fitness at the highest level is, you recognize top X% in that specific area. So whether it's swimming or running, I put it as just everything, right? So it's a really fit individual that understands the body and everything else. Medium term for me was, okay, I want to be known in the space of Brisbane, Australia, Queensland, just as a known figure in the fitness space, or someone who can, speak about fitness or talk about it, but also in the sense of, okay, within Brisbane or Queensland or whatever, there's an individual who's actually quite good at running or swimming or fitness or gym or lifting, something in that effect.
Yeah.
So it was a bit fluffy, right? There's a bit of fluffiness to it.
Yeah.
So that one I set as a midterm goal is like, okay, I want to be recognized in the local area. How then that is translated to the short term, that's a little bit different. So the short term, there were specific things like joining hands with Mac Fitness in terms of being sponsored by them, doing things like the Mere Mortals Challenge, where it's a little bit more fitness related. While not always, there's aspects to it. One of my monthly goals, which I term as short term, was to release 4 videos on Instagram around some of the ways that we're training at the moment, right? So all of those things feed up to the medium term, but that one doesn't have a definitive say on it. It's much more like I will get to the end of the year and I will retrospectively look and go, okay, do I feel that I reached that? Some of it can be, top 20% in swimming, and I can look at some stats to see if it fits it, or running or something else, but it's a little bit fluffier. And I would have, if I could look back now, I would have changed it slightly to be a little bit more definitive, because like yours is quite definitive. Mine's a little bit too fluffy. So that's an example of a really definitive, easy one with the podcast, and a little bit of a harder one with the fitness. But that just gives you people idea, because you can have great variations. So
and that's what can happen as well. And the good thing with these medium term ones, you can realize you've made a bad goal and fail to achieve it for whatever reason. Maybe you start doing it and realize, okay, this is not a path I want to go down.
Sure, yeah.
I had a goal. I wanted to do like a certain number of TikTok videos, blah, blah, blah. And I started doing it, and almost immediately I realized, like, I'm not enjoying this. This is not a path I want to be going down. But I still had this midterm goal of it. But thankfully it was just for a month. So it was like, I sort of wasted that in the sense that I had like a priority in mind, and then I realized very quickly that it was worthless, but it was only a month. So a month went by, the next month I've got another chance to do something else. So that's another really good reason why to do it. It can allow you to pivot and make sense, and even evaluate your long-term goals and say, like, do I actually want this?
If you put a long-term goal that I want to be, you want to be the best dancer in TikTok, and every day you're doing it, you hate it. You might want to reassess and go, okay, well, potentially I don't want to spend the next 10 years of my life doing this and hating it.
For sure. Yep. They so another couple of things. So I'll just go through what I do for the monthly bonds. So yearly, I've got 8 categories in my life that I want to achieve, like a very, very long-term one. So this is like indefinite out in the future.
Yep.
I split those down into yearly ones, and I'll share them when I come up to the end of my year, which is start of October. Yep. And I'll do like a video on that. And for each one of those, I sort of split it. I'll have like a couple of monthly goals that I want to achieve. So usually this is around 10 to 20.
Sure.
And they can be very easy, and some of them are pretty easy. One of the ones this last month was an hour of meditation outside somewhere. that's not that hard to achieve. I just got to do an hour.
You just got to make the time for it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And these are good as well because you can sort of look at them as well. So it's not like you have to get them done right away. So you've got 4 weeks and a month. You can sort of waste away the first week and then be like, oh man, I haven't actually done that much this month. Let me look at my goals. Okay, I can do this. Like this is something I can achieve. Mm-hmm. And if you get them all done earlier, then even fantastic. You can potentially think, maybe I need
more,
fortnightly goals instead of monthly. Mm-hmm. Choose goals where you can control the action as well. So this is one of the failings I've noticed is I was setting some monthly goals and not particularly a yearly goal, but more monthly goals where I didn't really have control of it and I was waiting on other things. So one of my goals for, I believe, March was to move into the place, like get all the stuff that we need, set up a new podcasting room and whatnot. And we didn't move in until April because the previous tenant was staying here longer and blah, blah, blah. So that was one of the ones where it was like, that's sort of like a wasted one because it's not something I can really control. It's more, I like something where it's like almost any time of the day or any day, I can work on it in some form or fashion rather than it being like a particular time or a particular place that I need to get something done. That being said, potentially if I had the goal to meet up more with friends, I'm probably going to have to do that on weekends when they're not working. So, there's a bit of leeway in that.
I was going to say, there's a little bit of leeway in there because, like that one, you want to catch up more with friends. Well, you're still at the mercy of what they do, but I guess the owners
just hate me and don't want to.
But there's still the onus is that you got to put some actions into place, right? Like if you're just expecting them to rock up to your house. Well, we have that happen, but unfortunately, eventually, if you're listening to this, stop dropping by our house and deuce. But if the onus is on you to make some things actually happen, even if they are outside of scope of what you can do. Have we got any other items there to share?
One of the things was just playing devil's advocate of what we've been saying the whole time.
Okay, and let's play it.
Other ways they can be detrimental. So other ways that setting midterm goals aren't useful for, individuals or certain people and even for ourselves, like what is a way that it might actually not be useful for us? So one of the things I was thinking was if you're like get easily provoked with anxiety, potentially having this goal on yourself and you're very like self-judging and self-doubting, potentially you need to improve that in a different way. Because if you're setting goals for yourself and
you're not reaching amplify them,
and you're just, you set a goal for yourself for the next month. I'm going to be nicer to my next door neighbors when they come by. I'm going to smile every day at someone, say hello every day. And you find yourself just withdrawing and you're not doing this sort of stuff.
Then it's going to be even worse than if you weren't doing anything at all.
It's almost like you're compounding the self-judgment and self-hatred. And potentially, doing this might not actually be helping. Potentially it's better to have a different thought pattern of how you'll fix this other part of your life first.
Sure.
And then potentially be able to start setting goals like this.
Well, look, the other thing I would say is, and not that I agree with it, but there's people out there who will go, oh, well, I don't want any goals. I just want to live life day to day. Whatever happens. I don't need to improve. I'm happy how it is. All that sort of stuff. If it is, fantastic. Keep carrying on. Midterm goals is going to be there because there's a little bit of extra overhead in your life, right? You've got to track things, whether it's on spreadsheets, on paper, there's overheads. There's extra things that's going to take away from your life. If you are a person out there who doesn't care about that, if you're happy where you are, I'm not suggesting that that's a great thing because I think growth is life and I think it's fantastic. But, if you don't feel that way, then it's going to negatively impact. You're going to think it's worse to add, if you've got to spend 10 minutes every day checking your daily tracking and you spend an hour a month to see how your monthly going and then spending 3 days doing your yearly goals and reviewing it and seeing how you might go, oh, well, that's too much. I'm not doing that. So there is time involved. I think that the time involved is, multiply well spent. It's valuable time, but there is that time.
For sure.
Be aware of it.
Potentially as well, like you're saying, if you're more spontaneous and maybe you don't want to set goals for a particular avenue in your life, you just want to enjoy it. So you're painting or whatnot, and it's just a hobby for yourself. You don't want to
anything to come from it, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. You just want to spend this time relaxing, chilling out. The whole, I guess, like the whole meaning behind the word goal and goal setting can potentially ruin what would be
sure. Like you don't have to make everything a goal or an improvement factor. Like let's say fitness, for instance. You know, for me, I would understand. I'm like, yes, I need to have goals. That's how it keeps me motivated, and I can see progress. But there's people out there who, you know, just want to be able to get in there once, twice, you know, a week or whatever, and they find them happy. They don't have to set a goal; they just got to do it. You wouldn't set a goal of I want to watch 3 Netflix shows per week or something, right?
Yeah.
You generally will watch Netflix just for the enjoyment, the downtime. Yeah. You don't have to plan for that. It's just when it's available or whatever, you do it. You wouldn't go and necessarily put mid-year goals or, you know, midterm goals for it. You just, I don't think it's usable. So not everything needs a midterm goal.
Same. Connecting with my brother, I like every now and then I like playing Rocket League with him, video game, and that's not something I want to, you know, be saying, oh, I want to do this twice a month or something. And in fact, I will actually put off other midterm goals or medium-term goals to play something with them or like on a short-term basis. So say if I'm meant to be reading X amount of books per month and I come up to like the last couple of days and instead of reading, he has some spare time and then asks if I want to play. Hell yeah, I'm going to do that. Like, I'll put those off. And that's not one I want to set in stone or say like, oh, you know, it's almost like planning to be spontaneous.
Sure.
It's sort of, you can sort of do it, but it's also not really.
No, the biggest, I think this is the biggest one actually, because it happens both to us and we've talked about it before, but let's just say you listen to this, you go, I want to set 10 mid-term goals. You set them and, you know, you go through a daily day and things come up, you know, let's just say that you want to run it 1 kilometer in X amount of time. And you end up finding yourself potentially it's a year, and you find yourself, you end up playing just soccer a lot more, or you start doing, rather than just running, you do long jump or rugby playing or AFL kicking, right? Fine. You get to the end of the year and you really enjoyed doing all that soccer and rugby, and you didn't meet your 1 kilometer. Now, there's 2 aspects of this, and I think the midterm, that's where people have to be happy with the failure. And the reason I say this, you might get there and you go, okay, I didn't make the 1K, but actually I really enjoyed doing the running in the form of soccer, in the form of rugby. And so that's okay. And you might get to it and go, okay, well, I can pivot it and move it to something else. But you also can't be negative on yourself if you don't reach it, but you still were happy doing something else. So for us, if I say the midterm goal is 5,000, followers on Instagram, we don't reach it, but we go, actually, well, we enjoyed ourselves and we're still doing all the same things and it's still positive. We can retrospect and go, okay, well, that didn't work out for whatever. But you also don't have to be negative about it and go, okay, cool. You know, we enjoyed it. It was still fine. Like it didn't even matter in the end that we didn't do it. I think people, again, can emphasize that, you know, you don't reach something and it's terrible and it's horrible. I think it just should be like, you know, it's a state of mind when you set the goal to when you potentially can achieve it. And if it doesn't, it just means that for some reason or another, didn't retrospect on it, review it, try and attempt it again or move on from it. But it's not like an end all be all, like all of a sudden you're just ending it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. If you're the type of person who gets fixated, like single-mindedly on something and you can't transition very well. So say I had set the TikTok one and I was the type of person who was like, well, I said
I have to do it now. You might have wasted now hours and hours and hours. Yeah.
Definitely. And the other one I guess would be, if you're shit at making goals, maybe don't do it. So maybe if you're making goals because you think that's what will impress your mom, impress your friends, and you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for other people, I would say don't even bother, because if your goal is to reach 100,000 followers on Instagram and you're doing it because you want to be able to say to your best friend who has 50,000, like, oh, look at me, look how many I've got. That's a pretty poor excuse for wanting to do that and spending all that time. Yeah,
no, definitely. Yeah. If a YouTube individual comments on your video and says, oh, well, I need you to get to 10,000 views in the next 7 days, you know, that's not a goal you have to uptake and say like, okay, well, I've got to do that. Like, it doesn't matter. That's everyone has their own opinion, right? And it's down to what you actually believe. A goal can't be something that's imposed on you. It's something that you create that you want to achieve. Yeah, exactly. Or that's when you get into difficulties, right? Because if someone imposes a goal on you and you don't achieve it, then it's not just you who you're now, you know, intrinsically feeling like you've let down. Now you're like, oh, well, this person set that goal and I didn't do it. Now it's multiplying the actual issue from it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Very good.
And then it can also be hard to know because I suppose like sometimes you set goals of things that you dislike doing and that you don't want to do, but you need to improve on. So for me, potentially one would be getting better at negotiating.
Yep.
I dislike the whole sort of conflict discussion, which has conflict involved. But potentially I need to start making goals with regards to that because I avoid it and that's, you know, causing other problems in my life or whatnot.
Sure.
And so by doing it that way, it's also like, I guess it's like not something I want to be doing, but I know as well is probably something that's good for me. And yeah, so that's another way where it's like it can be tricky to make goals as well because it can't always be the fun thing.
But I think that's where midterm goals, to highlight it, are really important because if you can have long-term goal is I want to be financially stable and know all my accountabilities and know where to invest or something like that. Your mid-year goals can define what that entails and whether it means that you put the work in to understand taxation system, taxes, where you should put your investment, sort of where it's properties, is it equities, whatever. Or you might go down the path of actually my midterm goal is just to find a broker who's going to put money away for me. And that's it. That's my midterm goal. That's how my finances are going to be sorted out. Yeah. So your midterm, it's the same long term, but you just figure out what's the path. And then that drives obviously your short term because one is going to be more intensive and you get potential benefit out of it. But the other one is, you know, you spend money or any other form of effort to go down a different path. So it can help point you in the direction of the same long-term goal, but just in different streams, different ways that you do it.
Nice.
So,
good.
Excellent.
So summary, make midterm goals.
Yeah, that's it.
Unless you shouldn't be doing it.
Yep. That was episode 33. Fitness, challenge, yearly, nothing. I think it's going to stay around for a little bit on the, I'm 33, you're on 44.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be sticking around there for a little bit.
I'll get some of this next month. Don't you worry.
Ooh, okay. He's called it out. Now, obviously, midterm goals. I've talked about it. I think we should call it out. We're aiming for 1,000 Instagram followers by next month. Is that our goal?
I think we should make it more, man.
More than 1,000?
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Like 1,200.
Okay, 1,200. All right, so doubling it. I actually thought about this when we went from 100 to 200. My idea was like, okay, I want to see if I can set like doubling it every month.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. 1,200 for next month.
Yeah.
And another midterm goal, 5,000 by the end of the year. 5,000. So let's see how it goes. So if you're listening to this, if you enjoyed it, go and check out Instagram and see if you can help us out along the way on the midterm goals.
You'll see me on there.
Yeah.
Especially if you're making memes. If you make memes, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
Podcast.
Or if you're what's the other Instagram podcast that you've been liking? There's like female podcasts that we've been seeing popping up quite a bit.
The black girls and the queens.
Yeah. There's plenty of them.
Spelling with a
QW.
QW. Maybe a KW as well.
Jeez.
I've gotten deep into some.
Okay.
I don't even know how the Queen scene on.
Mate, didn't even know it was a thing. So there you go.
That's good, man.
Other platforms as well. Facebook. You know, it's all right. Whatever. Everywhere. It's there. YouTube. YouTube's actually pretty good. We've got a couple things pumping out. Mere Mortals Challenge went out. Mere Mortals Musings went out just recently. This is going to get pumped out.
Yep.
Little cuts and pieces coming. Yeah. Now that we're in this new place, I reckon we're going to just have content galore.
I got a Spanish channel. So if you're interested in
Spanish from an Australian.
Some semi-decent Spanish, I'll say, sometimes
especially in the mornings.
Sometimes
in the mornings is good. We'll see. But if you want to listen to some Espanol, go and check out Kyrin.
Mere Mortal Michael.
Mere Mortal Michael. Now, hope you guys enjoyed. That is all for us today. One out.
Kyrin out.